The Cowboys are in the middle of what feels like a complete staff reset, and honestly, it is hard to overstate how much change is happening behind the scenes. Christian Parker is not just tweaking the defensive staff, he is rebuilding it from the ground up. And that kind of overhaul almost always comes with big departures, and even bigger questions about what the future will look like. When you look at the names involved and the direction the team seems to be heading, it is clear that this is not a simple new coach, same staff situation. This is a new era. And Parker is trying to stamp his identity on the organization right away. One of the biggest stories swirling around right now is London Wells and the fact that he is interviewing for the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator job. He is currently working the Shrine Game as one of the head coaches. And that alone tells you how much his stock has risen. This is not the first time Wells has been linked to a coordinator role either. He also interviewed for the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator position, but that job ultimately went to an internal promotion. That decision already had some red flags, because it seemed like the Commanders were looking for a more experienced play caller. Yet they chose the quarterback coach instead. Now, with Wells interviewing in Pittsburgh, the situation starts to feel more serious, and it raises the real possibility that the Cowboys could lose him. The connection between Wells and Mike McCarthy is obvious, and it is something that cannot be ignored. Wells has been working closely with McCarthy since he arrived in Dallas, and he has built a reputation as a coach who can develop players in a way that few assistants can. His coaching resume is diverse, with stops at LSU and with the Giants, and he has worked in multiple roles including tight ends coach and offensive line assistant. He has been a part of the coaching staff long enough to understand how the Cowboys operate, and he has earned the trust of the organization. But the reality of the NFL is that when a coach has the chance to move up to offensive coordinator, it is hard to block that kind of career step. What makes the situation more complicated is that the Steelers' offensive coordinator job might be structured in a way that fits Wells perfectly. Even if it does not involve calling plays under Mike McCarthy, there is a strong chance the offensive coordinator role could be more of a managerial title. While McCarthy keeps play calling in his own hands, that would be a natural fit for Wells, given his background, but it also makes the decision even harder for the Cowboys. If Pittsburgh offers him a role that clearly defines him as the offensive coordinator, without the pressure of calling plays, it could be very tempting. And it could be the kind of opportunity that a coach in Wells' position simply cannot pass up for Dallas. The worry is real because Wells is not just another assistant. He is someone who has proven he can take on more responsibility and handle higher-level duties. He has already shown that he can lead, develop players, and contribute to an offense in a meaningful way. That kind of upward trajectory is exactly what the NFL is built on. And the Cowboys will need to accept the possibility that he might chase coordinator opportunities. It is not just about losing a tight ends coach. It is about losing a rising star in the coaching world who has become a trusted part of the staff. On the defensive side, the news about Aaron White-Cotton is also significant. He has accepted the defensive line coaching job with the Tennessee Titans, and his title includes run game coordinator. On the surface, that sounds like a promotion, and in many ways it is. But the reality in the NFL is that run game coordinator is not always a full coordinator role the way defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator is. It is often more of a title that comes with added responsibilities, but it does not always come with more authority. From the Cowboys' perspective, this move does not feel like a devastating loss, because it opens the door for Christian Parker to build his staff with his own vision, rather than being tied to a coach who was brought in under the previous regime. White-Cotton was a coach who fit the scheme brought to Dallas under Robert Saleh, and we saw that in both San Francisco and New York. He was part of a defensive culture that emphasized a specific style of play, and he was effective in that role. But the bigger question is whether he fits what Parker wants to do defensively. Parker is trying to build something new, and it is reasonable to think he wants coaches who align with his philosophy and his approach. Keeping White-Cotton could have limited Parker's ability to build a staff that fully reflects his identity, so while some fans may have hoped he would stay, his departure could actually be part of a larger plan to reset the defensive culture in Dallas. One of the reasons this move makes sense is that it allows Parker to have real input into the staff building process, rather than simply inheriting a group of assistants who were hired by the previous coaching staff. That kind of freedom is rare in Dallas, where the organization has often been more conservative about allowing a new head coach to fully rebuild. But the Cowboys are clearly in a different place now, and they seem willing to give Parker the chance to create the kind of environment he wants. In that sense, White Cotton leaving might be a sign that the Cowboys are serious about making a clean break and starting fresh. Even though White Cotton was one of the few staff members who seemed like he could have stayed without causing major disruption, the broader picture suggests that his departure is part of a bigger shift. Parker is trying to build a staff that reflects his vision, and that means finding coaches who have worked with him or who fit the style of defense he wants to run. It is a long process, and it will require patience, but it also gives the Cowboys the opportunity to create something new and more cohesive. One of the names that has already been connected to the defensive line job is Marcus Dixon, who is currently coaching the defensive line for the Minnesota Vikings. He has already interviewed for the Cowboys position, and his background includes stops with the Rams and the Broncos, where he overlapped with Christian Parker. That connection is important, because familiarity and trust matter when a new head coach is assembling his staff. Dixon has been praised for his ability to develop players, and that is exactly the kind of quality a team like Dallas needs if it wants to maximize its defensive talent. The only complication with Dixon is that he may not be available if other teams start making offers. Washington recently hired Donnie Jones as their defensive coordinator, and Jones and Dixon worked together in Minnesota. That could create a situation where Dixon gets pulled in another direction, or it could create competition for his services. Still, he remains a name to watch closely because he fits the profile of a coach who could thrive under Parker and help build the kind of defense the Cowboys want to run. At the same time, the Cowboys have already let go of several assistants, and none of the departures were particularly surprising. Dave Bronzy, Andre Curtis, and David Overeat II have all been told they will not return. These coaches had strong ties to the previous defensive coordinator, and their departures make sense given the new direction Dallas is heading. It does create questions about continuity, but it also creates an opportunity for a full reset. The fact that these coaches were part of the previous regime suggests that Parker is looking for staff members who align with his vision rather than simply keeping people because they are familiar. There are still four coaches under contract who could choose to stay or pursue other opportunities, including Darian Thompson, J.J. Clark, Brian Bing, and Tanzel Smart. None of them appear to be guaranteed to remain, and even J.J. Clark, who might have the best chance, could be replaced if Parker decides he wants his own people in place. It is possible that none of these coaches return and that the Cowboys end up with an entirely new defensive staff next season. That might sound dramatic, but it could actually be the right move. A fresh staff can bring new ideas, new energy, and a new approach to a defense that has struggled with consistency. The key will be finding coaches who can develop players, build a strong scheme, and create accountability. That is the kind of foundation Parker will need if he wants to build something that lasts. As the coaching carousel keeps spinning, the list of names being connected to the Cowboys grows longer, and it is becoming increasingly clear that Christian Parker is not just trying to fill positions, but rather build a cohesive defensive philosophy. The interviews that are happening right now are not random. They are part of a deliberate strategy to find coaches who bring modern ideas and who can grow with the team. Among the names being discussed, Shane Bowen and Denzel Martin stand out, and both represent a new wave of defensive minds that are younger, energetic, and deeply rooted in contemporary schemes. Shane Bowen is a name that has been linked to Dallas for a while, and he brings a resume that includes experience as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. His coaching journey has been closely tied to Mike Vrabel, and Bowen has shown that he can lead a defense and manage complex schemes. Some critics point to his time in New York as a reason to be cautious, but it is worth noting that he seemed more comfortable and more effective in Tennessee, where the environment and the culture appeared to fit him better. Bowen is a coach who seems to thrive when he is in the right system, and that could be a positive sign for the Cowboys if they are looking for someone who can bring structure and modern concepts to the linebacker room. Then there is Denzel Martin, the Steelers' outside linebackers coach, who has quietly built a reputation for developing players and focusing on the details that often get overlooked. His path to the NFL is a classic story of perseverance. He started in college coaching, moved into the league as a scouting assistant, and steadily worked his way up. That kind of background suggests he is a coach who understands the game from multiple angles, and that can be incredibly valuable when building a defense that needs to be adaptable. Martin has also been praised for his ability to develop players, and that is exactly what the Cowboys need if they want to improve their linebacker play and create a more disciplined, physical unit. One of the most interesting aspects of these coaching candidates is their age. Both Bowen and Martin are 41 or younger, and that is not a coincidence. It suggests that the Cowboys are looking for coaches who can grow with Parker and bring fresh energy to a staff that has been in place for a long time. This is not a let us keep the same staff and hope it works situation. This is a deliberate effort to build something new, and it reflects an understanding that the NFL is changing quickly. Teams need coaches who are willing to innovate, adapt, and bring modern concepts to the table. The Cowboys appear to be embracing that reality, and that could be a positive sign for the future. All of this points toward a potential shift in defensive philosophy, possibly toward more five-man front looks. Parker's background includes working under Vic Fangio, and many of the coaches he is interviewing have experience with five-man fronts. That is significant because it suggests the Cowboys may be trying to build a more physical, run-stopping identity. The difference between 4-3 and 3-4 schemes is less important than the overall defensive approach. But the emphasis on five-man fronts suggests the Cowboys are trying to create a defense that can match up with power running teams and impose its will in the trenches. A five-man front also allows for more versatility in how the Cowboys deploy their linebackers and defensive ends. It can create mismatches and open up more creative pressure packages, which is something the modern NFL demands. At the same time, the Cowboys must ensure that any shift does not come at the expense of speed and coverage. The league is still a passing league, and defenses must be able to handle quick, explosive offenses. That means the coaching staff must design a system that can be flexible, switching between fronts and coverages without becoming predictable. The coaches being considered appear to have experience with modern defensive schemes, which suggests they could build that kind of adaptable system. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News. Drop a like and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. In a move that has instantly sent shockwaves through the NFL community, a star player from the Seattle Seahawks reportedly made a bold and controversial statement regarding the Dallas Cowboys. Sources close to the team claim that the player, known for his fiery competitiveness and outspoken nature, suggested that the Cowboys' reputation as a powerhouse might be overhyped. While details remain scarce, insiders hint that the remarks were made during a closed-door team meeting, only to leak shortly after, sparking a flurry of reactions across social media. The Seahawks have long been considered fierce rivals in various matchups, but this appears to go beyond the usual locker room banter. Analysts speculate that the comment could be part of a larger psychological strategy, designed either to motivate his own teammates or to provoke a reaction from Dallas. Fans of both teams have taken to online forums, debating whether the statement reflects genuine confidence or simply an attempt to play mind games. Some Cowboys supporters have expressed outrage, claiming that the Seahawks player is disrespecting a franchise with a storied history, while others see it as typical competitive talk that fuels the drama that makes the league so captivating. This development also raises questions about team dynamics in Seattle. Will coaches view this as a motivational tactic, or could it create tension in the locker room? There are whispers that rival NFL teams are watching closely. Seeing how the Cowboys respond could shape playoff narratives for the months ahead. While no official statement has come from either team, sports pundits are already speculating about potential consequences. Could this lead to an all-out verbal war between two of the league's most talked-about squads? Or is it simply a fleeting moment, destined to be overshadowed by on-field performances? For now, the league waits with bated breath, as fans and commentators alike ponder the implications. If the Seahawks star's comments are anything to go by, this season promises a level of drama both on and off the field that could redefine the rivalry between these two iconic franchises. One thing is certain, the NFL rumor mill has never been this electric. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.